Hey YouTube family, and welcome to Perfectly Parker. So I want to talk about an incident that happened at the store when I got off work. So I got off work the other day, and like I said in one of my videos, I work night shift. So I got off, and on my way home I stopped at the store to get something to cook because I was working off. So I went to the store and I had wore an autism shirt. I have a lot of autism paraphernalia that I wear to work because we can wear any tops. So a lot of times when I do wear it, I get looks sometimes, not bad looks, but sometimes the looks like people can kind of relate, and sometimes it turns into talking topics in line. And so this particular time, I was in line and I had got my groceries and I was in the line, and when I get off work I look horrible. Night shift really does wear on me, but I pretty looked like I was knocking on death's door. I just look bad. I look sick. But so I just got off work, I'm in line, and there was this woman in front of me, and I can tell that she kept looking at my shirt. And so finally I kind of spoke, how you doing? And she looked at my shirt and she said, you know somebody with autism? And I said, I do. I said, my daughter, she has autism. And she said, really? And I said, yeah. And so I can tell she really wanted to ask more, but she probably was thinking, this lady looks so tired, just leave her alone, she looks sickly. And so I said, do you? And she said, yes, my son was just diagnosed a couple months ago. And I said, oh, okay. And so she turned around and I said something. I said, so how are you handling that? How are you doing with that? And she said, it's a process. I'm still absorbing it. We always knew something was wrong, but we just didn't suspect autism. And I told her, I said, yeah, I can definitely relate to that. I said, same here. And then we just got to talking, and we were just talking about different things. And I was telling her about some groups that I'm on Facebook that she maybe can join, and they're really great resources. And she said, thank you so much. And then she said, it's just, nobody really understands. She said, sometimes it just be so isolating. And that really stuck out to me because I definitely know how she feels. And I said, you're absolutely right. And I said, it can be very isolating, but you don't have to go through it alone. And so that's what I'm going to talk about. I'm going to talk about it today because anybody that has a child with a disability or what have you, it can be very isolating. It has been times where I've literally felt like I'm standing in a room full of people screaming and nobody just hears me. And it's not that they don't want to hear you, it's just even though they may try, people just don't understand. Your best friend may not understand, your parents may not understand. People who are going through it usually are the ones that understand. And so a lot of times, we don't do it on purpose, but we sometimes isolate ourselves. When you get your child's diagnosis, you dive into stuff, you dive into resources, you just dive into stuff, and you don't even take the time to really absorb how you're feeling in the moment. You're just worrying about doing what's best for your child when you really should take a moment to absorb everything and basically how is it making you feel. But of course, as parents, we don't do that. We just dive in head first and we put everything to the back burner. And I know for myself at the time, this was around the time when Parker's disability really became noticeable, not just speech, but other things, meltdowns, sensory processing stuff just really came to light. So in the beginning, where you may be with parents and you may be doing play dates and it's not so obvious, now you're to the stage where you have to think about, will the place be too crowded? Will it be too sensory overload? meltdowns, and if you're just getting into that world, it's very uncomfortable because meltdowns, they're very uncomfortable situations until you get used to them. You just feel like you're being judged when your child is having a meltdown, and you probably are, to be honest. But and that's just my situation. You think about the children around Parker's age, who may be 4 or 5, who aren't potty trained yet. Anybody who's a parent knows sometimes it's so hard to find a changing table for a baby, let alone somebody who's 6. And so it becomes a hassle, and so you just kind of get away from doing those things. And not even that, Parker is what, she'll be 6 in a couple weeks, in a month. And when I go to places, I can't just sit down and let her do her own thing. I can't sit down and let her play on the playground. I can't sit down in the house while she goes out to the backyard and jump and have girl talk. I just can't do that. I have to be on her like white on rice because I have to watch her with certain things. If adults are there, I'm fine, but as far as just letting her do kid things, I just can't do. And so sometimes I don't feel like going to play dates with Parker's age where I know that I'm not going to sit and have girl talk, or I'm going to have to navigate her away from certain things because people just don't understand. And even though they may say, oh, just let her do what she's going to do, we can't. We can't just sit and let them do what they're going to do. And people say that, but they just don't get it. And so what you tend to do is you tend to gravitate towards people who understand, because around this time when people are engulfed in baseball practice, softball practice, soccer practice, dance practice, or for me, I'm engulfed in doctor's appointments, therapies, making sure things are lined out appropriately. And you forget to take time for yourself. And then the people that you once hung out with, they just don't get it, and life goes on, and before you know it, you've gone a year or 2 without talking, and people just think that you're being antisocial, and that's just not the case. It's just until you're in that world, it's just hard to understand what we're going through. And when you start talking to people who are going through it, they get it without feeling sorry for you. Because when we talk to other people about these situations, we don't want pity. We don't want people feeling sorry for us. We just kind of want people to get it. And in the same breath, we don't want to seem like we're complaining about it. I don't want to seem like I'm complaining about having to take Parker to 3 different therapies a day, or how many ever therapies a week, or we have to go to a doctor's appointment, or she can't speak, or what have you. We don't want to feel like we're complaining about it. We just sometimes want to vent to people who get it without feeling pity for us, if that makes any type of sense. And so we isolate ourselves into this little bubble of people that get it, and people who understand. And sometimes it doesn't make for a big circle, and you look up and you've just kind of isolated yourself from the world, and we become okay with that because we know the situation that we're in, and we're in it, and we finally look up and we do kind of realize that we're like, dang, I don't get out as much as I should, or I don't do these things. But if you're like me, you're kind of like, well, even if I could, I've given so much, and especially when we working on weekends, when I do get a break, I kind of don't want to. I know that may sound horrible, but I just want to rest when I get a chance. And so no fault of anybody's, no fault to your friends, to yourself. Sometimes you just isolate yourself. You just can't help it. And you look up and it's just you. Not to mention, a lot of us can't find babysitters. A lot of people, it's easy for people without a disability to, maybe they can find a babysitter, but for those of us, especially with those with severe autism, it's hard because it's hard to find babysitters who can take care of your child. And it's scary because of course anybody, they don't want to leave their child with anybody, but of course when you have a child who can't tell you what's going on, that's even scarier. And not to mention the big elephant, money. We all these therapies, they are not cheap, so we can't go out to things. We can't just decide to go out of town or what have you. And a lot of people just can't afford to do it, unfortunately. So you add that on top of all the other stuff, it's just a good recipe for isolation. And I've had people talk about, how do you get out of this? You feel bad. I know I do. Like, I've had tons of people ask me, oh, we'll go here, where we go here, and then the only thing I'm thinking about is I don't want to go out for drinks in the middle of the night because I have to get up at 6. I have tons of stuff I have to do. Not to mention I got a couple therapies I have to do with Parker, and I'm just not trying to be up that long. And unfortunately, I kind of isolate myself away from the world without even realizing it. And so a lot of people ask, how do you break this? How do you get out of the cycle? And it's simple. You just really have to make time for yourself. Self-care is so important. And then if you're somebody who's not dealing with this and you're thinking to yourself, well, how do I help my friend? Sometimes it just takes a push. Sometimes it just takes you coming over, calling, checking on somebody. I recently, this past year, had 2 amazing people that really helped me so much in ways they don't even know. I would wear my stress sometimes at work, and one day she came to me and she's like, Shy, I'm gonna need you to get out more because you are just looking stressed all the time. And I told her, I said, I know, but I really legit don't have time. At this point, Parker was in daycare. We were getting acclimated to the area. We had just moved to Texas and we had nobody here but me and my husband. And literally, I just had no time to do that stuff. I'm trying to find therapies for Parker. Just a lot going on. And I just didn't have time for it. And one day, she came to our area. And it's 45 minutes from where she lives, and that's another thing. We kind of stay away from everybody. And she just came and she said, hey, I'm in the area, bring Parker, let's go to Raising Cane's and let's go out to eat. And at first I didn't want to, but I'm like, hey, she's here. And I was so happy I did because we had so much fun. Another one of my coworkers, she started a book club. And she purposely made it on Sundays so I can come because I work every Friday and Saturday. These little things, they mean a lot. And I'm not saying it has to be all about you and you need to revolve around our schedule. I'm just saying to say that that's why we kind of isolate ourselves. We're not trying to be antisocial. We're not trying to talk to you. We just get engulfed in our children and we put all our energy into our children. And sometimes we just forget about ourselves. And unfortunately, sometimes we forget about our friends. I say that, it sounds horrible, but it's the truth. Time just gets away from you and you literally look up and it's been a year and you just haven't called anybody because you're so engulfed in finding so many things and finding so many things for your child. And I don't want you to take away from this that we complain or, oh my God, nobody's calling us and we have no friends or things like that, because I don't think about that until I'm in the midst of it, until I'm sitting down and I'm like, ooh, I haven't called somebody in a while. But it's more so just understanding, trying to understand where we are coming from. I've had different friends say, hey, bring Parker. It's real chill here. Isn't a lot going on. Just bring her just to get out the house. Something as simple as that. Or if you even tell a person, yeah, we're having a birthday party, but there's a room that so-and-so can relax in if she gets overloaded, just too overstimulated, or I have extra space if you need to change your child's diaper. Things like that, just you'll be surprised how it just opens up doors when you really try to make somebody feel comfortable. And it keeps us from isolating ourselves. And I do have to do a better job at it. I tell people self-care all the time, and I'm not the best at it, if I'm being honest, but I'm getting better at it, doing little things like going out to breakfast with friends, or just getting outside of doctor's appointments and therapies and all that kind of stuff like that. Just taking a minute to take care of myself so I can take care and put everything into my daughter, into my family. So definitely just wanted to do a quick video about that, because when I looked at her, and she was in the earlier stages of feeling the isolation. At the time when Parker first got diagnosed, I wasn't feeling it that early. I really didn't feel it till maybe a year later. But I looked at her and I felt bad, because she's right. People don't get it, and sometimes it is so isolating to be going through the process. But we get through it. We grin and bear it, and we do it with a smile on our face, because that's what we do. And yeah, so I appreciate you guys watching, and please subscribe and like, and if you have any questions for me, comment, or if you have anything or any questions that you want to ask me, email it to me and I may make a video out of it. And thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye.